Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Zahn Academy's A Look in the Lab. I'm Fran Parathyras, your host, and today we have a dynamic duo from Hawaii here to discuss their dental office laboratory combination. I have Dr. Eric Muraoka here, and we have his laboratory technician, Darron Chidrawi. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on A Look in the Lab.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, friend.
We're really excited to have you. Everybody here at Zahn was very excited to have you guys on A Look in the Lab after doing a webinar with us that went very, very well accepted. So I want to thank you from all of us here at Zahn.
Yeah, pleasure.
How was everything in sunny Hawaii?
It's good. It's still pretty early. We just got our coffee, just getting going.
Yeah. Like 8 o'clock in the morning there. That's another thing. Thanks for coming in so early to join us here.
No problem. No problem.
Technician life. Hours ago.
So what we're going to be talking about is innovations and trends in 3D printing. And I just want to start off with a question for you guys. I want to know if you can tell me a little bit about your past, what you've done in the past, and what you're doing right now.
Okay. Darron, you can start. Well, I guess just to get us introduced. So I'm Dr. Eric Muraoka. I have a practice here in Honolulu. Actually, it's kind of right here in the background. A couple years ago, I was very fortunate to have essentially been gifted a dental lab. A guy, a business owner, he was trying to get out of the business, and he said, "Here, do what you want with this lab." And so from then, as I was just telling you, I had a lab. We took it digital. That's kind of how I got into digital dentistry, maybe around 5-6 years ago. Fast forward a few years later, we're growing so much. I kind of built it around helping all my dentist friends, and so we were getting so busy. I needed more help. And so I put a little ad on Facebook actually, and got tons of people. All these lab techs wanted to come to Hawaii. And then, Darron really stuck out. He's from South Africa, and he sent me some of his work, flew himself out, and we just clicked ever since. And so I brought him out here. He's running my lab now, and it's just a lot of value. I mean, Darron, you want to add to that?
Yeah. I'm a technician. Qualified in South Africa, in Cape Town, and I've been here for about 2 years now. And my background is digital. I've been digital since 2001. I was one of the first little Sirona systems. It was called Eric InLab, the little compact with a little laser. So I've come through it all. Glass infiltrating zirconia and Instagram, and we've grown through time. And I used to be a KOL for Dentistry Sirona, and now I moved to Hawaii, and now we're doing all types of things. And my background's mainly prosthetics. Not prosthetics, like implantology and aesthetics. What I meant to say. I'm a detailed orientated person, and I'm always looking for things that digitally and analog, it's a marriage. So I'm always looking for new trends and new things, and trying to push our industry, to the best of my ability, and still deliver good quality work. So my partnership with Eric is, it's quite unique because we both have the same ideology.
It's very unique. And, there's a lot of chatter in the industry about, dentists now wanting an in-house laboratory. What is it like for you and for your patients to have Darron by your side through the treatment planning, through actually, designing cases, and then finally being able to give the prosthetic to the patient, having Darron by your side?
Yeah, it is probably the thing that has taken my career to the next level, honestly. Being able to have a highly trained lab technician right next door to me. I just call them over. We need a custom shade. If I need some lab advice, from the lab side, prosthetic advice, implants, what he thinks, being able to collaborate on a daily basis is just stepped my whole dentistry, the level of my dentistry up so many levels. It's just so valuable when you can offer that high level of work every day to every patient and be able to do it right there in-house, we have intraoral scanners where the data becomes available almost immediately. We have face scanners where we can digitally design a smile design right in the chair while the patient is waiting. We can have their input, have Darron's input. When people can collaborate together like that, I really feel like it's a huge value. And I think that's where a lot of the industry is headed, honestly. Like I was telling you, Fran, earlier, I'm not sure if this is true, but I really feel like the future of dentistry, private dentistry, is multiple dentists getting together, in like a group practice setting where they have an in-house lab technician, and I think that's where the future is going with private dentistry. But you want to add something to that?
Yeah, it seems like quite a simple question, but it has many layers, and I think the biggest, for me personally, I would say about 95% of my career I've been in surgeries or lab side dental labs, or surgery side dental labs, basically. So as a young guy, just qualified, your ramp rate being in a surgery is immense, because what you're putting out, you can see, you can take in, and if you have a great dentist, or if you have a great group of people that you work with that allow you to be honest and can be honest with you, from a technician perspective, I think it's invaluable. Your ramp rate, if you had to put two technicians next to each other or two clinicians next to each other, and one never sees their work and the other sees their work with the same skill, one's always going to be better than the other. Because it's tactile, right? You're taking stuff in and you're giving stuff out, and that is the one part. And obviously the other part is the turnaround. I think in the past, there was always a stigmatism about dental technicians, like, oh, you sit in the back room and do your stuff, and I think the younger group are more open to this, and this is probably why we're seeing the trend move, is the guys actually valuing what we do and our skill and the profession that we're doing, and the great thing about technology is the more that clinicians and technicians are working together, the more we started to appreciate what each other does.
Yes.
And that respect level is coming back to where it should be, to say, shit, I thought it was just like doing this and doing that, you know what I mean? But it's actually more to what you're doing, and I can understand his challenge, if Eric's like, oh, this guy's tongue is so big and I can't get there and see this and see that, and we can understand, we can maybe make a solution. So
it's a collaboration, and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, your work is really together changing somebody's life, and that's something that we always want to remember, especially Darron, like I feel you get to see your work and what that does for a patient,
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Eric, you see that every day. You're treating patients every day. You're making them feel, good about themselves. But a lot of the time, some CDTs and technicians don't really get to see their work and what it does to that person. So Darron, do you recall any case that, you actually got to see the prosthesis go in and what that did to the patient? Like, how does that make you feel when you see that?
Man, it just validates the time and the effort that we put in, like if you see the time and the effort you put in, and I give you an invoice, it doesn't justify it in my opinion, because I like to think that I leave everything out on the table, I like, if I do something, I want to do it to the best that I can within that time frame, and to see it and to see the tears, and I don't think I'd still be here if I didn't have that kind of thing. And, you know, perhaps I should have been a dentist, but I was just not bright enough. You know, but like I love surgery, I love chairside, I love implants, you know. So maybe it's different for somebody else, but for me, that's what makes it worthwhile.
I saw that there was a question that popped up there. You know, someone was asking if I feel like we close more cases. Oh yeah, and for anyone who's out there listening, this is kind of an informal thing, and if anyone has questions, you know, along the way, we'd be happy to stop and answer some questions too. So keep them coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I feel like we close more cases? 200%. Now, you know, we're gonna get into like the 3D printing, but you know, when we can take scans and line them up with face scans, and you know, you have all this technology, and you can literally show a patient what they look like before, and then you put the teeth on what it can actually look like in 3D. It nails cases way more often, and you know, just the ability to see all the data immediately and design a case. You can also see the challenges with that case as well and talk
Off the back.
yeah, right there with the patient, with the lab person, and you know, everyone is on the same page. It's like really awesome synergistic, like positive experience. And you know, when you can 3D print such things as mock-ups, like mock-ups or like shell temps that you can put on their teeth right away.
Yeah.
You know, with the Einstein printer, you can print these mock-ups in like 20 minutes now, and maybe 30 minutes, have them ready to go in the mouth, and you know, just see it live digitally on a screen, and then when you have it printed, it's amazing. And I think I can definitely say it has nailed cases way more.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. I don't really think you don't really sell it, you know. It's just, I think it's just confidence, you know. It's patient can see without us even having to try ourselves that
Right.
hey, this result's going to work. And also we can be honest with them and say, you know what, I don't think this is a treatment plan for you. You know, perhaps we should suggest something else. And we had to back out of many sometimes, and we would have been overcommitted had we not actually had this relationship, and B, like the technology to deliver an answer to a result.
Yeah.
Now, as far as marketing, like, do you market this kind of like 3D printing that you have an on-site lab to your patients? Is that something that you do?
So slightly. You know, I feel like the general public doesn't know too much about how awesome, you know, like 3D printing is. Like, oh yeah, I do say that we are into 3D printing, but I don't know how much of an impact that has.
Right.
What I do market though, or definitely get it out there, is the ability, or the end result, and how these tools can make their, you know, their final product better.
Mhm.
You know, like when we can take our scans and our face scans and digitally design them, you know, I'll show that process so that, you know, with all these tools, 3D printing is a tool, and intraoral scanning is a tool ultimately. You know, I mean, there's probably so many dentists that still do analog that can still crush cases, but with these tools, it makes it so much easier for everyone to be involved and to really nail the cases the first time around. And I think that I push to more and more for patients to see, because it's not anything like we're selling it. It's literally like this person's life is being changed by our technology, and
a workflow.
Yeah, and we want you to have the ability to change your life too. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't want it to sound so easy, but it really is easier to nail cases. Like like you're not selling anything, you're using it to educate the patients, and it just sells itself, you know, and it makes our job easier too, because we want to nail it. You know, we don't want anybody. We don't want to redo cases, you know, and all that stuff. But you know, if we ever have to, though, it's awesome to have the lab have a lab collaboration, because say if something goes wrong, we'll just reprint another one,
Right.
and it's there's no better time to be in digital dentistry than now. It's super easy to get into it.
So we're talking about 3D printing, and that's something that's, a very hot topic in the industry. Everybody wants to learn about it. You mentioned Desktop Health's Einstein. So is that the printer that you're using now? And
Yeah.
when did you start using their 3D printing?
I think we got into it about 2 years ago, or around a year and a half ago.
With the Envision Tech.
Yeah, with the Envision one, the original
Envision one?
one. Yeah, and I needed a better solution for my dentures, so I really loved, and a lot of my digital dentistry background started with making dentures, and so originally I had another printer, and I was using other resins, and they were coming back cracked and not as beautiful, and so Josh Jackson from Evolve, he told me, man, you got to get into this, Envision Tech, Envision One. And I said, okay, you know what? I need a better solution. Boom. We got it, crushed it. And we've been using strictly the Envision One and the Einstein now, ever since, for everything that we do.
And what applications are you printing right now with your Envision One and with your Einstein?
Everything. So dentures, so two-tone dentures.
Nice.
We have monolithic dentures where you can customize a prosthetic, with however you want. We can do partial, like even these flexible partials.
Okay, there was a question about that. Someone wanted to know about if you're printing flexible partials and what resin. So what resin is that?
That's the best one to use for flexible partials is Flexera base. It's more thermoplastic, and depending on how the thickness and the width of your prosthetic, it has more give actually. And Wally Renee from the MOD Institute, who's a big top health guy, he goes and he actually has a class for flexible prosthetics with the Flexera base, and he would probably be able to speak more on that. But one of the biggest ROIs I feel like with any printer is night guards too. Like Key Splint Soft, but all of this stuff is being printed on our Einstein and our Envision One. So aligners, you can print the model and make your own ortho aligners, like Invisalign for whoever doesn't know. But yeah.
So the resin.
Yeah, pretty much. And like for me, obviously models, implant models with the new Model X. Resin is so solid. It's really good. I just want to say, like 3D printing is expensive, and if there's surgeries out there that are half in and half out, I just want to say that I had the honor and the privilege of attending Chicago just a couple months ago, right, at the dental show. Right. What is it called?
Midwinter.
The dental lab one.
Lab day.
Sorry. It's a bit early here in one. One thing I like, the definite theme is 3D printing. I mean, if you walk through Chicago Lab Day and even Midwinter, it's just 3D printing everything. And one of the biggest things that I saw almost at every stand was the Key Splint Soft. Yeah. And if you do the mathematics, I mean, if you're printing like for 2 patients, and I've got, and let's face it, just about everybody needs one, right? I mean, if you're printing 2 a day, the machine's paid for like in a month. I think, it is one of the biggest money spenders in dental practice.
With only a couple bottles of Key Splint resin or split resin.
I think this stuff is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's this, and it's Flexera Ultra Plus. Yeah. Because of my implant hybrids, all our next cases, temps, shell temps, snap-on smiles. I mean, I do my partials in Flexera Ultra Plus because we'll just stain them like this. If you see the underside is white, So this is a monolithic style, little flipper partial or interim partial. You know, at the end of the day, it's still a composite or a composite. And if you need to make adjustments, you can. You know, if you need to add, you just do a little bonding technique, and you can use flowables on it. You can use that nice acrylic paste. You can use so many things. So I think Flexera Ultra Plus for me is probably one of the most versatile 3D printing materials right now, and certainly the hottest one on the market. And Keystone Soft. I think those are the two biggest movers.
I would have to agree with that. Flexera Smile Ultra Plus is I think the best resin out there. You can do everything with it. So it is FDA approved for, you know, permanent dentures, as well as permanent restorations like crowns, veneers, inlays, onlays on single teeth only. So it's FDA approved for final restorations on those. And then for temps, mock-ups, all on X hybrid temps that Darron does, you can they're approved for temporary status, I believe. But it's so versatile. I mean, you can literally print a 200 micron thick veneer that will be a permanent prosthetic for a patient. You know, you can, you know, and to come at it from a clinical side too, you know, if I'm not going to do porcelain veneers and the patient is wanting something cheaper, right? There's no way that a composite veneer that I can do by hand is going to be nicer than a printed one. That you know, I mean, it's impossible. I mean, I know there's dentists that do beautiful composite veneers, but I'm not one of them. I don't want to try it too, because that takes like hours to layer, grind, get it right, while you can scan, design, print it in an hour.
See another patient in the meantime.
And you could offer it to more people, like you're saying, like it's not you know, expensive, you can offer it more. So I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I really feel like I want to really push this point across, that so if you're a dentist or a lab guy, it's so easy for you to get into this, especially if you're a dentist. Like, say you just have a printer in your office, you know, and a scanner. You scan, you send it off, you know, say you don't want to even get into the design element, right? So say you want to have a remote designer. You send your case to a lab guy like Darron, who will design it, send you the case back, maybe in half an hour, whatever. Print that and deliver it to your patient. You know, it's like, it's so easy to get into it, even if you don't want to do designing, because I understand there's DSOs, there's huge busy practices that dentists want to keep their bird spinning, right? So they don't want to get into all that, like how we do, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But it's so
there are design services that are available. You know,
that are like every level of digital dentist you want to be, it's possible now, you know, and there's so many different ways you can do it. And it's never been easier.
That's a good point, you know, like, and it does cater for every kind of guy and every kind of guy's own methodologies, laziness level, you know, it just depends how deep you want to go. And I guess right now there's something that can fulfill that kind of void. But, you know, Flexera Ultra Plus, I think the thing I like about it the most is that, like, say you're a dental practice and you want to do something for your community, you know, like for a community college or something. You know, there's no reason at the cost of a interim crown, and if you're honest with your patient, to say, hey, you know, this thing's not going to last forever. You know, you're going to get a good couple of years out of this, providing, you know, you've done everything correctly. You know, there's no reason for you to say, hey, let me do a drive and give some, you know, crowns or restorations to people that need them over Christmas time or whatever. You know, it's why not? You know, we can do it.
I mean, the amount of resin, I mean, you want to talk about cost, the amount of resin you would use is negligible.
Yeah, it's your time, and if you're giving, give, you know, and it's not going to cost you anything apart from the time.
For example, Darren and I are later this year, we're going to do an event on the Big Island to help some of the people in the community that can't afford dental work, and we're going to use Flexera to restore some smiles so that these people can get interviews. You know, and I'm just saying, like, just to be able to do that kind of stuff on a daily basis, and just it's amazing.
Yeah,
you can do so much good with 3D printing, especially.
But we're also grateful to have partners, you know, like Desktop Health and, you know, Zahn and the like. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Well, we want to help any way that we can. I mean, that is a beautiful thing that you're doing, and that's exactly what A Look in the Lab is about. It's showcasing, you know, offices and laboratories that are giving back and really doing a beautiful thing for their community surroundings. So that is really beautiful, guys. There's going to be some lucky people out there that you're saying confidence, beautiful smile, get them that interview, get them that job that they need so desperately. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that. Maybe we can inspire more people out there to do such, you know, a beautiful thing. You know, Flexera is a beautiful resin, as you've explained. I mean, the physical properties, can you talk a little bit about the physical properties that you both like about this particular resin?
Yeah, so we just did a webinar on Monday about Flexera, and especially bringing it to a high polish. But one of the things that we went through was the proper post-processing. And I feel no matter what we talk about, it should always be said that the instructions for post-processing any printable material, every single resin has specific instructions, you know, in different workflows. So make sure to follow all those specific instructions. But especially for Flexera, if it's post-processed correctly, it is 3 times as fracture resistant as many of the leading resins on the market. It's 2 times as absorption resistant, and the translucency. I think we showed it to you last time, like how translucent it looks. It's amazing, and like all of these different properties make it such a versatile material. When, like, you know, when you're printing veneers, it's very translucent, but also too, it's like you have to respect the material because it's so translucent. Say you're doing a veneer, you have to make sure to really pay attention to sump shades and all that stuff. That's more like Darren lab science stuff to think about. But I really love the translucency, especially in my dentures.
Yeah, I think you know, I think the newest version of Flexera Ultra Plus is. I think they've nailed it. You know, if there are guys out there that have used a lot of like multi-layer PMMAs and that kind of thing, the problem is they're too translucent. And even with ceramics, like if you have zirconia or anything that is too translucent, it's going to gray out on you, right? You're not going to get the result you want. It's going to look great in the lab and it's going to look horrible in the mouth. So I think the blend of Flexera, the blend of Flexera right now is really good. It's the right amount of opacity and the right amount of translucency. Obviously, it's always thickness dependent, translucency, right? So, you know, as you come in towards your crown tip, I think it's perfect. Flexera is, it uses the same kind of a molecular structure as ceramics, right? It's long chain ceramic structure. So, you know, from that perspective, I think the toughness is there, the wear is good. Yeah, I mean, I think for a solution that you can have on demand, like within a couple minutes, there's no better right now. And I think that is the biggest thing.
And they're saying it's stronger than milled PMMA, you know, and it's all according to the lab tests that are being done. But when you have a printable material like that, it's so versatile. It's amazing. Someone asked a question about, are you printing flexible partials with Flexera? If so, are they flexible enough? So yes, yes. So yeah. So one of the greatest properties of Flexera is that it has flex. Depending on the thickness and the width of the things that you're printing, it is more flexible. So definitely Flexera base is really, really flexible. It's all design dependent. So like this is Flexera base, and the pink stuff is the one that's really like, you can squeeze it a lot, and it has a lot of flex depending on the thickness you print it at. So I believe as long as you keep it, I saw Wale do a partial, and I believe it's like a 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter thick. You must keep these, designs at. But if you go on any of these Facebook groups, you'll see like these flexible partials all day long, and yeah.
Yeah, I reckon, if you take so we recommend that you cure with the autoflash. And, when these Flexera little things come out of the autoflash and you happen to bend them like that, you can actually disform them. So, in the oral situation where, these materials kind of succumb to body temperature, then, obviously that's where the flexibility will come in. And it's the same with these little, keystone fluff things. Like sometimes, we have a tap. If you open it, hot water comes out automatically. The cold water doesn't really drip well. This is a very old building. So, as I open that tap sometimes and I'm busy polishing with pumice, and I can feel that, and I put it back on the model at the end, and I can see, this thing's not quite fitting like it was earlier. I probably like kind of deformed it, and you heat it up again and just stretch it out and put it back in the model, and it clicks in, right? So in the oral situation, I believe it will have more flex, but to take it on a morning like this, and you can still keep pushing it as much as to a degree.
Right.
Luckily, there was enough. But I believe it's the right amount of rigidity and the right amount of flex.
So Darron, do you recall the first prosthesis that you printed? And Eric, once you delivered that prosthesis, how long has it been? And how's it holding up in the mouth now? Have you had a recall with that patient?
Oh, a long time ago. So the first iteration of one of the first iterations of Flexera was called Eden 1000, before it became Flexera Smile, before it became Flexera Smile Ultra Plus. So it used to be called Eden 1000, and I think that was like a year and a half ago, and that must be around the time we first started making our dentures out of it. And yeah, I mean, we haven't, I do a lot of dentures, a lot of like full dentures, and we haven't had many issues. One issue that I will say that we do have with it, because there hasn't been too much about glazing and polishing. And so one of the biggest things that people have been talking about recently is how to get that nice shine on Flexera. And because, typically everyone wants to just slap glaze on stuff because it's easy. You want to be able to do these things efficiently, have them be beautiful, but also last. The problem with glazing on a lot of these printable materials is that the glaze wears off eventually. And what happens is it becomes a plaque adhering surface. So now we are not recommending to glaze. What we recommend now is to, like say for example, like this monolithic denture, it came out as this tooth colored Flexera first, but you paint everything, but then how you lock it in, how you lock in the stain and glaze is you paint a layer of Flexera over all the stain to lock it in, and then you polish it like a normal denture. Yeah, if you guys want, we did a pretty good informative webinar on Monday about it on desktop health website for the on-demand webinars.
Awesome. So that's something that the attendees, if they want to see, can go. Is it on their website or YouTube?
Yeah. So it was on their website, but so yeah, I really, polishing is the way to go. So for anyone out there, definitely no glaze, but yeah. Oh, so to link that back into what we were talking about earlier is when we were doing these dentures and prosthetics in the beginning, we were glazing a lot of them.
Mhm.
And those ones were coming back with the glaze coming off.
Okay.
And so since then, we've upped our protocol, polishing everything now, and now everything is just almost the same as the day we put it in. In saying that, if you have a glazed one that comes back all nasty with the plaque and stuff, it's really easy to polish it off that layer and then put another layer of Flexera and then polish it again to bring it up to a nice high shine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the water solubility is good with this
Oh, yeah.
particular resin, and you're finding that
Oh,
it's definitely holding up in the
Yeah.
mouth.
Oh
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
Definitely one of the key characteristics of Flexera base and Flexera Smile is the inertability, and it doesn't really absorb a lot of moisture, so it's very good in that regard. But let's not be fooled. Like, how do they say? You got to kiss many frogs before you find a prince, right? But we definitely had our challenges, and mostly because I think the instructions for use and post-processing have never been as clear as they are now. So
Mhm.
I guess in the early days of EDED 1000 and the early days of Flexera, there's a lot of mistakes we were making with post-processing. So, in the world of KOL and training, there are a lot of times that I've found in my personal career that when there are issues, usually it's user error, like almost 90% of the time. You got to remember that the minds and the technology of the people that develop these protocols are way smarter than I could ever be, even in my best dream. But these things are really made well, and they're made by proper scientists and proper people, but like engineers and stuff. And I really find that for the most part, it's usually user error. And now on Flexera's website, they've updated all the instructions for use, and please follow those guidelines to the T. And I think that your shrinkage rate or your redo rate for fractures and failures will be very, very, very small.
That's the main thing I was going to ask you about, getting started.
Yeah.
What the learning curve was with actual 3D printing. I know there's a lot of people out there that are just starting 3D printing, and they're having issues with their, how their prints are coming out. And really, what was the learning curve for you?
Yeah, our learning curve, I started with photons, right? And, in fact, we still keep them in the lab. They're very handy just for mundane models and silly things. But what it did do is it gave me a background to 3D printing. And my theory is also that some people might be, with these new systems that are so good and so plug and play, that some of the basics might actually be lost in. So I would definitely say that, the more you experiment, the more you learn. And if you have failures and stuff, that's okay. Try to take a lesson out of it and read more about the orientation of your print and all these things. But for the most part, the ramp rate and the learning rate with all the information and KOLs and all these people that you have at your disposal, like Zahn's customer service and, desktop health customer service, there's always somebody to jump on board. But, with every new system, you're going to have some headaches, and, you got to pay your school fees. And that's just the way it is, I guess.
So someone was asking about what we thought about printing Flexera Plus as a monolithic denture and staining versus printing the base and bonding the teeth together. It's a really good question. That's a really, really great question. So how I do all of my dentures, I do monolithic. I feel like when they're solid like a block like that, they're they're stronger. I'm not sure about that science, but I also like it because it's more customizable to the patients. And so like I was showing you with this denture, you know, you can customize the pink. And say if you start off with A1 resin, you can stain it down to A3 or whatever color you want to. And so it's just more customizable and more possible to do like a same day denture as well. Like especially with the Einstein, these dentures can be printed in 20, 30 minutes now. It's ridiculous. Wally did a webinar where he went and literally designed and printed a denture within 1 hour, start to finish from scanning.
Yeah.
And but with that being said, there are benefits to both. There's benefits to both. You know, say if you're a high production lab, you're probably gonna do the two pieces. You know,
presuming you have two printers, then it's really easy. One goes to base, the other goes to teeth.
But for me, I like to do monolithic. I do a lot of overdentures, implant overdentures as well. And I'm loading them with the Flexera dentures, no frames or nothing, and they are working awesome, solid, super solid. Those have been going in for about a year now, and no problems as long as you respect the material. You know, as long as you give enough thickness in your designs, you won't have stress.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that question, so for the coloring we use GC OptiGlaze. I love the usability of it. You know, also if you're going to do a monolithic denture and it's perhaps a high profile patient, or maybe your fee is really great for these dentures, you never know. You know, you could always do like a gingival cutback and then have your Flexera base. I mean, your Flexera, well, it is a base now, but this is all done out of Flexera Ultra Plus. You can do like a gingival cutback, and then you can take Gradia Plus, the direct composite from GC, and you can go and lay a beautiful gum and anatomy on your hybrids or on this stuff. And obviously, for me, I like to work within a system. So, you know, I'll use Gradia Plus, gum, direct composite, and then, you know, I'll be shoving GC OptiGlaze in to create different color effects. And, you know, at least I have the peace of mind that I've done everything according to the instructions for GC and the instructions for Flexera. And I want to make it very clear that you need to respect each material for what it is. So respect the instructions we use for GC stuff, respect the instructions for desktop health stuff. So, and then use your noggin and make it all come together.
Make it come together, exactly. There was a second part to that question, but I guess it is a variable kind of answer. They want to know, how long does it take to characterize a monolithic denture?
You can become fast, you know, according to the size and the level of detail and how many layers you want to add. But
we're actually, we've got it down to a pretty fast process. So what we're doing is my assistant actually and Darren and I have collaborated. So we come up with the best mixture of GC OptiGlaze. You know, we create that one mix, and the assistant paints it on in like 5 minutes tops, all the gum.
Oh, she's good.
And she's really, really good. And then she uses some of the stain, the teeth stain, so blue. You know, that's a trick we learned from Darren, is to put a little blue on the incisal edges to create that translucent effect.
The depth.
And the depth. And, you know, you can just make these dentures so beautiful. And it takes maybe like, she does it in maybe like 15 minutes. If she were just to do one start to finish, characterizing it, 15 minutes, easily 15 minutes.
That's
and then we go to the finishing.
And then so the finishing. So I'm telling you, we went through all of this in our previous webinar, but very important, you always want to lock the stain in with a coat of Flexera over it, and then polish.
Excellent. That's a good tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, really excited to see that you have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in Desktop Health's printers and resins, Flexera. And I know that you guys hosted a Pinot and Print over at your office, Kaizen Dental in Hawaii. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you came about to actually host this?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll carry on. Desktop Health supported a denture course that we did at the end of last year, and we've got one coming next week.
Yeah.
There's another version of that, and
It's actually in this space back here.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be very busy next weekend. Yeah, so that is something that Desktop Health had been running, Pinot and Print. And obviously for us it works out great because we can have our clients come around and people that potentially just want to have a relaxed evening and check out printers and ask some questions and enjoy wine. I mean, who doesn't like that, right?
but it was mainly, so it was around the time of our class, but it was mainly to also get other dentists excited, stoked about 3D printing and to see like the power of it. And I think from that, there were also dentists in the area who weren't in our class who also came too. So it's it's really, these events are really cool. And if any of you guys are interested, I know Zahn is putting one or something like it, their own style in Seattle in June, right?
Yes, so Zahn and Desktop Health have, they're collaborating. We are collaborating, I should say. And our version is called Mix and Mingle with a Genius. And we have 2 dates in June. Isn't that cool? 2 dates in June. The first is June 21st, and that's going to be over in Seattle, Washington. And on June 22nd, we are going to Kansas City. So we're very, very excited about this collaboration. Like I said, it's called Mix and Mingle with a Genius. And if anybody's in the area and wants to attend, we would love to have you. Please just go to our website and register. It will be on the website both for us and Desktop Health in the next couple of days. So we're very excited about that collaboration because we believe in them too. So it's great, really great. Do you think 3D printing definitely sets you apart from the other practices in your area?
Yeah, definitely it does. Like I was saying, it's a tool, but it is one of the greatest tools that dentistry I think will probably see in the near future. Not that we have the 3D printer. Like I was saying, I mean, I don't think that the general public really gets, you can't be like, oh, we have 3D printing and we're so great. I think it's more for what it allows us to do with these 3D printers. It's, right? Would you?
Yeah, I've actually never thought of that, whether it sets us apart, because I think 3D printers are becoming such a key focus in anybody's dental practice, and I mean, my vision.
But I don't know.
My vision for the future, perhaps. I think we've got in it early, and we've certainly put a stamp on it, maybe in this region.
But I really feel like it's, I don't know. I feel like it allows us to nail cases.
Oh yeah.
For us to have these bigger cases, full mouth rehabs, aesthetic rehabs. It allows us to nail these things, have patients input if they want to, have a lab's input if, and just collaborate and nail these cases easier. Yeah. I think it's, it's kind of crazy, man. Like you look on people's websites and their Google listings and all that stuff. It's, you'll see aesthetic rehabs that are not the greatest sometimes. And I'm not saying I've done, the best work all my life, but like when you can nail these cases almost every time, and these large cases, full mouth rehabs, I think it becomes easier for you to market those things, like the results, And what I will say is take pictures of everything I mean, not everything, but a lot of a lot of these clinical cases, you know, it's just when you have those libraries of pictures, it becomes also easier to show what you're doing with your practice as well.
Mhm.
You know?
And laboratories as well should be documenting their cases.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
I always used to make a joke about it. Like I used to have like this big setup with a big camera and everything.
yeah.
And I used to go do lectures and presentations around the place, and like you'd see these little polished dots everywhere. So now I just use the phone, right? It's forgiving, and
Yeah.
it's a great tool, and it's in your pocket.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'd like to just say, you know, on that note, like there's nothing worse for a clinician, whether you're a dentist or a technician, to put your heart and soul into a case and then have that patient say, well, that's not really what I wanted. And for me, that is the biggest key to 3D printing, is that I can deliver something that is a prototype of perhaps my vision for you, which isn't perhaps somebody their own vision, you know, always, and that we can produce that and actually have the patient write it off, take it home, show their aunties and uncles and all that stuff, and somebody that's going to be honest with them. And I think from that part, yes, you know.
I do want to show this nice rig off. It's actually been 3D printed by another dentist in the online community. It's Bulu Lei. This is called the BPR, and I use this every day. And I'm telling you, if you're a dentist, you wanna get something like this that has a light. So I put my phone on here, and then I literally take pictures with my Pixel, and you know, it's so easy, and especially because everything goes into the cloud. It's on my phone, you know, it's right there. You must take a lot of pictures if you're doing 3D printing, you know, post all your stuff too. You know, I think that it's important that, and you can go back to see your cases and stuff like that. So
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, you know, labs as well can show their cases to prospective dentists as well that are looking to see, hey, I want, you know, a lab that does X, Y, and Z. You have that to show. It's so nice, you know, document all your cases.
Many a modern day career has been made on Facebook. So.
As far, I mean, I really think that you guys are progressive thinkers, really like I would say first adapters of like new technology and things like that. I wanted to know basically, what do you think about AI, artificial intelligence, in the dental field? How do you think that's going to look?
I think there are already guys working very, very hard in this thing, because AI is certainly one of the big buzzwords right now. You know, in digital, like I've seen rough cuts of programs where they just talking in a dental practice to, let's give it a name, Margaret, right? And Margaret, book so for this patient in 2 weeks' time, and these things are just happening. So I think AI is going to be very, very, well, it's definitely the future. I can see some lab softwares now are getting very, very good at like biogeneric matching, and their designs are quicker. AI for administrative purposes, you know, having everything digitally in the cloud and all this kind of stuff. It's the way forward. It's the way forward. I just wish it was here already, and I wish it was more attainable. But yeah, watch the space. I think it's gonna be a big one for all fronts of your dental practice, not just dentistry, like but administration and everything else.
Definitely, I would have to agree with that. It's the future. From a clinical standpoint, I think the future is going to involve some form of scanning a patient intraorally, scanning their face with a cone beam, you know, having their cone beam scanned, having everything all in one, you know, and you'll be able to take that data and have AI design it, you know, based on what everything is seen and biologically with their cone beam intraoral scans. Another application of AI I've already seen and heard that's happening already is AI is going into X-ray programs and diagnosing all of caries, disease before the dentist even sees the scans. And I think from that perspective, it's going to be the future. I think from lab design perspective, it will. it will be the future. Scanning already, for example, with the Medit scanners, they have AI implant abutment matching. It's going to change the industry, and it's coming fast, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Any last thoughts or comments for our attendees out there?
I would say that I know it's a big leap to jump into digital dentistry, and especially printing. But once you go digital, man, your career will lift off. I really believe that, even if you don't want to get into designing, but I think that printing is the future, and I think that if you're on the fence, just do it because the return, just from the return, it's gonna come back super fast, and it's so easy to get into.
Yeah, it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too early. But you know, I was one of those guys that would never buy an iPod because I always thought they were just getting better so quickly, and I think 3D printing is the same thing. But that being said, the sooner that you do get in, and you know, you can be waiting for the rest of your life, you know, because this thing is just going to keep on progressing. I mean, there's zirconia printing coming, there's all these things one day, and if you want to get your ABCs of printing, now's the time, you know. And to me, you know, there's no such thing as a bad system. Okay, there's bad users, and all these systems are so well made. Like, for me, the important factor that you need to consider if you are looking to get into printing is look at the resins. Okay, all these printers can print, and they all print very well. You know, it's the resin and the support that you're going to get. Those are the things that I would say we need to be focusing on.
I mean, that's honestly why, you know, I bought desktop. You know, I bought Envision One first. We weren't even KOLs to begin with, but we love the resins so much, and we're posting about them so much that, you know, we're already in love with this stuff. So you know, I believe that's kind of why we you know, naturally became KOLs, but we really believe in the resins. It's all about, if you're getting into 3D printing, like Darren said, it's all about the resins and the future development of resins. And Desktop Health has some cool stuff in the pipeline, I gotta say.
Like, you can't advocate or sell anything that you're not passionate about.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, like, I'm passionate about dentistry, I'm passionate about innovation, I'm passionate about a lot of things, and I'm looking for a system or a partner or something that can support that, you know, and take me from my vision here and make it a reality.
Well, I want to thank you both for opening up Kaizen Dental to us, being so honest, and, you know, all of your commentary, and I'm sure you helped an awful lot of people out there. So I'm going to say thank you from Zahn and myself for trusting me to come on and look in the lab and be so honest, like I said, and open yourselves up to me. So thank you very much.
If anybody out there if there's anybody out there that wants to get hold of us, please, you know, no issue if you post our details, and yeah, feel free, man. You can catch us on Facebook.
Facebook, a fast one. If you want to email us, is downtowndentaldesigns@gmail.com.